Carlos Sainz falls victim to the elements. Lando Norris heads back to the casino early, and the Las Vegas Grand Prix proves all the doubters wrong. This is Into the Chicane, a Formula One podcast, the post-Las Vegas Grand Prix edition. We're your hosts. I'm Channing Apodaca. The man across the computer screen is Brandon Wood.
Yo, yo, yo.
My God, the Las Vegas Grand Prix has officially come and gone. And what a goddamn doozy.
We're officially here.
What's that?
So we're officially here. It's over.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it actually happened. I can't believe what a fucking turnout it ended up being. Especially from the way it started to the way it ended. True Vegas fashion. Entertainment, whether you liked it or not, from start to finish. A lot of drama. The glitz, the glam. Vegas, baby.
Absolutely. Did not disappoint, although there was a lot of drama. At one point early on the weekend, we thought this may not even happen. We may not even have a race.
Yep.
But surely delivered some excellent racing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, myself included, you can put me right at the top of that heap, saw this turning out the way that it did. As soon as things started to unravel on Thursday night, everybody was sort of like, oh man, here we go. Here we go. All the haters are going to be proven right. Nope. I don't think anybody had it on their F1 bingo cards that the Las Vegas Grand Prix, the Spider Pig track that never should have been, might churn out one of the greatest races of the season. But here we stand.
Yeah.
Here
definitely.
We stand. Shock and awe. So let's get into it. Day one, Thursday night practice. First time in I don't remember how many years, but the first time in a while that we've had a practice taking place on Thursday. And we kind of didn't, because about 5 minutes into the session, was it?
9 minutes.
9 minutes into the session. 9 minutes of running, the hype, the anticipation, and bam, Carlos Sainz goes over a manhole cover. And the downforce, the ground effect of that Ferrari rips that manhole out of the ground in a split second. That thing goes shooting up, hits the undercarriage of Carlos Sainz's car so hard that it damages the power unit. He stops on track, red flags the session, and Formula One kicks everybody out. Disaster.
Yeah, apparently there was also Ocon's car, and there was another one too as well, but Ocon's was also severely damaged as well.
I forgot about Ocon.
Yeah, so multiple people got caught up in it. So that session was red flagged. Of course, track crew had to go and immediately address the issue on the track. So they had to go through, check every single cover that was available there on the track. And they went and, I think, poured like cement or something in them to seal them.
Yeah, it looked like they kind of like repaved over it, which I don't know. I guess that would stop some of the airflow that could potentially be, the issue causing it to be pulled off, but it seemed a little shaky for me, but it worked in the end. But it causes big controversy. So here's what happens. They red flag that session. They go, all right, FP1 is done. We're going to move on to FP2, but because they had to go through and double check all of the manholes and then re-secure them, that takes them hours to do. So they push FP2 back an hour and a half, right? Or was it 2 hours? FP2 was supposed to take place at
midnight.
At midnight. FP1 was supposed to be, what was it? 10 p.m.? Something like that?
One was at 10 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or was it 8:30?
Could have been 8:30. I don't remember, which I should, but I'm an idiot. But they push it back, and then it gets pushed back so far that the paddock is closed. The grandstands have closed. The entire event has been shut down to the public. The only people allowed on track are drivers and teams, or within the grounds of the racetrack itself. And then, special invitees, press, media, all that shit. So if you bought a Friday ticket, you got kicked out. If that was all you had, you got no Formula One that weekend. So big controversy, no refunds happening either. So really bad look for Formula One. I felt terrible for those people who only had Friday tickets, which it sounds ridiculous, but some people do that. Some people do buy just the one-day ticket just to see the cars and get the experience. If that's all that's left or if that's all they can afford, that's all they get. So some of those folks were staying in hotels on the Strip, only bought tickets to Friday, didn't get to see but 9 minutes of running of the cars, but were kept up by them until 4 in the morning. Imagine being there, being told that you can't see this shit. You're not allowed to be in the grandstands, but you get kept up all night by the running of those cars. Disaster. So if that happened to you, shucks. Bummer. But also big controversy on the side of Carlos Sainz because he falls victim to the elements of a street race. And a lot of people are saying, he should be, that Ferrari should be reimbursed, that he should, that he should get some sort of special, exemption, because what ends up happening is he has to take a new power unit because he gets damage to the power unit. He's already on his 4th power unit of the season, which is the maximum allotted amount. Because of the damage, he has to take a 5th power unit, which gives him a 10-place grid penalty that people are fighting or were fighting, saying that he should not have to face that 10-place grid penalty. I say this, unfortunate that it happened, but you have to take that penalty. You are a victim of the elements. That's what happens at a street race. Those manhole cover issues have happened in the past. They will probably happen again. Not just manhole cover issues, but just anything with the elements, which can happen at any racetrack. The manhole one is, track specific to a street race, but that is the unfortunate downside of sports in general, is that shit happens. Things can go wrong. People want it to be on Formula One or the FIA or the, some of the surrounding bodies that put the race on to say, oh, this is your fault. You guys should be the ones to have to cover the cost, and Carlos Sainz shouldn't have to face a penalty. It has to happen that way. Because if they give Carlos Sainz an exemption to say, okay, you're not going to face the penalty, then there are going to be 9 other teams and 19 other drivers going, what the fuck? Well, then we're just going to run over a manhole cover and we're just going to get a brand new power unit. If you guys are just giving out freebies and not penalizing him for this, it's unfortunate that it happened the way that it did, but them's the rules. Them's the breaks. That's the way shit breaks down. It sucks. I feel bad for Carlos. He's totally in his right to be as frustrated and upset as he was, but that's just the way shit goes down. I think, we got to let me do what we do here, and let's compare this to another sport. Let's imagine Tom Brady running down the field, and he steps on a pothole, a little divot in the ground, and he breaks his knee, and he's about to score a touchdown. The NFL's not going to look at this and go, well, you know what? It should have been a touchdown. So we're going to give the Patriots or whoever I have no clue who Tom Brady plays for anymore. He's retired, I'm pretty sure, actually. We're just going to give Tom Brady the touchdown, and on top of that, we're going to pay for the surgery to replace that knee. That's not the way that shit would go down. They'd go, hey, man, shucks, that sucks. You stepped on a pothole on your way to scoring a touchdown. Sorry.
100%. Carlos definitely should have gotten some sort of exemption or some sort of, something. Shouldn't have gotten such a raw deal, but there really isn't any rule or precedent for them to be able to do anything. So had they have changed the rules or had they have done something to provide an exception in this circumstance, there would have been huge legal issues. So that's something that they don't want to be getting into right now. So they're just going to play it by the book, and that's just is what it is.
The best they can do is to look at this and make a change for the future. But something happening during the race weekend to make up for what happened to Carlos would never happen. You would have 9 other teams screaming down the throat of Formula One, of the race directors, of everybody involved in making that decision. Ferrari would be in court with, 9 other team principals. It just, no matter whose fault it is, Formula One's, the FIA's, the Vegas track officials, doesn't matter. Carlos has to take that penalty. It sucks. It's shit. But the best we can do is, in the future, we just have precedent in place to make sure that those manholes are battened down a little tighter, whatever has to be done. And who knows? Maybe the ground effect of future cars is going to be that much stronger, and no welding, no pavement, no nothing is going to keep those manhole covers covered anyways. So who the fuck knows? Moving on. We finally make it to FP3. Not much happening there. Both Ferraris looked great. I think they were the fastest cars on track all weekend, outpacing the Red Bulls, outpacing the McLarens, outpacing the Mercedes. So that made it almost even more bitter for Carlos Sainz because he should have been right up there. But Chuck looked great. Then we move into qualifying. It is Charles Leclerc from his teammate Carlos Sainz, who takes the 10th place grid penalty, which starts him in P12 for the race, followed by Max Verstappen. So Max moves up a spot on the grid into P2 in Carlos's absence. And then to start the race, during the driver's parade, Oscar Piastri's classic car decides to have an oil spill right there on the track where Max Verstappen would be starting, causing even more chaos to the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So they're out there pouring puke powder all over the track where Max is going to start, covering an already dusty track in even more dust. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it would happen here.
Yeah, that would be the place for something like that to happen. I mean, they did get it dried up. But some even more funny, pre-race antics, just all the celebrities that were around. Paris Hilton out there mucking it up, cheesing for the camera.
Rihanna, A$AP Rocky were there.
Yeah. One of the funniest things in all of F1 to ever happen. I think you already know what I'm talking about. So they give Las Vegas legend, veteran of the fight game, Bruce Buffer, the announcements, the pre-race announcements. And so he's doing his driving out of blah, 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 weighing in it. He's doing a fighter's announcement, but for the drivers. And he does one for Sergio Perez. And Checo has no idea what's happening. And Bruce Buffer's just yelling in his face, driving for Team Red Bull, Sergio, Checo, Perez. And he gets right up in Checo's grill, and I don't know how Checo's never seen this before. He looked like he'd never seen an announcement like this and had no idea what he's supposed to do. You just put your hands in the air, you wave. But Checo looked like a lost child in a mega mall, standing there, and then literally goes, where am I supposed to go?
He was definitely caught off guard with that.
Yeah, one of the cringiest, most funny moments in all of F1 history. Let's get into this race. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so thanks to Carlos's grid penalty, Max gets to start from a more prime position to make a run at Charles going into first turn. Sure enough, Max gets a great jump and makes a run for it.
Yeah, I thought the oil spill might play a factor. They got it cleaned up well enough. Max got a little bit better of a jump than Charles did, and he gets uber aggressive into that first turn, which is pretty close to the starting line, which I don't like. I like a deeper run to the first turn from the line. But Max shoves Charles all the way around. He goes off track. Investigation happens immediately after that, and then we found out about 10 laps later that Max was going to be taking a 5-second grid penalty for pushing Charles off track, rightfully so. But before that happens, we have chaos leading into that first turn as well. Fernando Alonso loses it, ice cold tires. He just goes absolutely skating. He spins. Who did he hit? Because he cleaned out a bunch of people. There was
it K-Mag?
I don't remember, but he takes a good chunk of people out.
I know Bottas did, yeah. It was Bottas.
So yeah, we yellow flag, giving Charles Leclerc a good shot at potentially getting Max back on a rolling restart, which he doesn't. Once they get things sorted out, they do a rolling restart, and Max completely juked Charles Leclerc out of his shorts because he took off. He starts putting heat into the tires. They, come around that first turn, and he caught Chuck sleeping because Max is gone, which it stayed that way for the better part of the race. A couple laps later, Lando Norris finds a little patch of ice, metaphorical ice, and he just goes skating himself right behind his teammate into what I was dubbing the CVS corner, the now notorious CVS turn of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's funny because Las Vegas, I have my rumor or my theory that Las Vegas is taking over for Monaco. Monaco has like all those historic turns, swimming pool, casino corner, all that shit. Mm-hmm. Every corner in the Las Vegas Grand Prix is casino. Then there's the Sphere, and there's now the notorious CVS, which ultimately turned out to be like that was the best advertising that CVS could ever ask for, because that was the 100%. Most dramatic turn of the entire Grand Prix. Everybody was either going off there, or every bit of drama that happened, every big overtake happened right there. So that's where Lando goes off. He spins off into the runoff, but he's got a long bit of tarmac to go too. So he spins, hits the wall, and then goes all the way into the runoff and then hits the back wall of that too. Didn't look like it was a big impact, but I think because of how much lead up he had, he carried so much momentum and so much weight into it that the G-force of it ended up being pretty big. So Lando Norris goes right to the hospital right away. He's out. His race over. You can see my fantasy season just crumbling with him. Not a great start to the weekend for the McLarens. They said they were going to be bad. I think a lot of people had high hopes that was going to be like a Hungary, where they said they were going to be bad, and then they ultimately ended up having a great weekend. No, they looked like shit. They were out in Q1 to a lot of people's surprise. And then it just got worse for them there. Oscar Piastri, I think, starts P19, right?
Yeah.
But because of
both of them did not get through to Q2.
Yeah, but because of the chaos on lap 1, they were both able to get through that pile and then had a good outcome for the start of the restart, which was looking good until Lando goes out. Then we have another little bit of a safety car there. They get that cleared up pretty quick. Not too much debris on the track. And then because of where Lando's car ended up, they were able to move it off pretty good. And then we thought that there was going to be a deep lull, right? We thought there was going to be like a 20 to 30 lap, just absolute lull. But no, there was action on track the entirety of that race up until the very end. You had the Alpines showing everybody up, proving the doubters, myself included, wrong. They had a great showing. Lance Stroll ran in the top 10 for the majority of the race. A lot of midfield overtakes.
Yeah, Lance really was able to take advantage of that early safety car. Got ahead of some of the people who had to either start on softs or had to make a early pit with that before that first safety car. So
yeah, but a whole lot of action the entire time. And then of course Max Verstappen and George Russell come together. Max Verstappen takes a good chunk of body damage, or front wing damage, I guess. Loses his front wing end plate, which ended up not really having any effect, surprisingly.
Yeah, I was surprised considering, this is such a high-speed circuit. There's usually a lot of, especially with the tight corners, there's more, that downforce on your front end can be really important, but apparently it wasn't that much of a detriment for him.
Yeah, he stayed quick. He was running in P3 for the majority of the race, I think, after his pit stop, and then after everything had kind of shaken out, it was looking like we might have a four-way battle between him, his teammate Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, and then Oscar Piastri on the hards had moved his way all the way up into P4. I thought he was going to be able to stick that out. Lo and behold, he hadn't moved from the hard tires yet and needed to do one more pit stop to go onto the mediums, which moves him back, loses a little bit of time in the pits, but stays in the points. I think he finished P10. He got that final point. But we had an absolute shootout to end this race for the majority, the better part of 15 laps or so between Verstappen, Perez, and Leclerc, which was kind of what made this race just an absolute Classic. So for the final, 10 laps of the race, Verstappen moves past his teammate, makes a final move on Leclerc. Leclerc fights back, ends up in P2. He gets into it with Sergio Perez. They have a nice little battle. Perez takes P2. Leclerc takes P2 back. Perez takes that back from him. And then I might have that out of order, actually.
It sounded about right. And then just on the very last lap, Charles going into turn 17.
It was CVS.
15?
Right outside the CVS, yeah.
At 12?
Yeah.
12? Yeah.
Checo decided to go. Yeah, he went too wide, which I don't know how he does. You stay tight on that corner, especially when defending.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like 2 corners before that, like he had gotten a little bit of a gap on Charles, and I don't think Charles was as close as he was, but or at least that he didn't think that Charles could break as late as he did.
Yeah. The DRS and the slipstreams at this track were really, really helping people out too, which that's, the effect of the new prototype of cars. Just made this race phenomenal. I don't think any of the drivers expected things to go so well for how good of racing it turned out to be, but the high-speed sections of the car or of the track just fucking crushed it, made for great racing because not only were you able to overtake, but then it then forced you where the DRS zones and the straightaways were laid out and where you were able to get DRS and slipstreams, it made you have to defend immediately too. So we just had constant on-track battles going on. Just made for fucking chef's kiss of racing. But so those two go at it for a couple laps, trading places back and forth. And then right outside CVS, Leclerc overtakes Checo on the literal very last lap for the second race in a row for Sergio Perez. And Leclerc is able to secure P2. Checo takes home P3. And we have a Max Verstappen, who I did not think was going to for sure run away with this race. I actually played my I forget what the chip is called, but where your 2x points go to the top finishing driver just for the safety of it. So Max from Leclerc and Sergio Perez is how the race shakes out, and then we have an Alpine in P4, which I myself thought that they were going to be draggy as hell. Nobody expected them to finish there. We have Lance Stroll finishing P5. Who else? We have a Mercedes, I believe, in the top 10. Let's see.
7 and 8 after George's.
A Mercedes 7 and 8. With Carlos Sainz moving all the way up to P6, and then Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri. Fernando Alonso not having the best weekend. One of the rare times where his teammate outperformed him. Dude, we're on the Lance Stroll comeback tour right now.
He's definitely on the up and up, right?
Yeah.
Definitely turned it around. So it's glad to see.
The tennis elbow's finally starting to heal. Yeah, it's good to see. I think, when you have Fernando Alonso with a teammate actually by his side, that's when Formula One's going good. But that's the race, and goddamn was it good.
Just everything we could have hoped for. Tough. Like you said, rough start to the weekend. Definitely was not handled well by F1 as far as the fans are concerned on that first day. But for a weekend overall, the racing was really great. The event was pretty amazing. And I think everybody can be happy with how it went and look forward to it for next year. So,
absolutely. Not just next year, but for the next 10 years to come. And going into this, I don't think anybody was excited about it. I'm sure a lot of Las Vegas locals and people who were planning to visit Las Vegas in the November months maybe aren't happy about it. You can suck it. I'm stoked to have this race around for 10 years.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it goes the full 10. It's going to be at least another couple.
Yeah.
So they spent a lot of money on that pit building, so I think they're going to get some use out of it. So
yeah, they're going to want to get their use out of it. And they're making Las Vegas the new home of F1 America's base. So they're going to be there for the foreseeable future. And Good on him. Fuck yeah. Let's get into props and flops. Who you got?
All right, so props and flops.
Oh, look, we have a guest.
Found him hanging out in the back out there.
Resident baby Oliver.
Resident raccoon.
So who you got for props and flops?
I mean, since we were just talking about him, I have to say huge props to Lance Stroll finishing fifth.
Yeah, definitely.
Two weekends in a row finishing fifth. I mean, what more could he ask for?
Big prop there. I can agree with you on that one. Big props to Ferrari for being just barely outraced by Red Bull. I think they had the most pace over the weekend. Fastest team. Their cars looked the best. Big props to Oscar Piastri, I think. You know, had he not had to make that extra pit stop, if his strategy was just a little bit better on the team side, I think.
I mean, he did have that contact with Lewis, so he got a puncture. He had to pit early. I think that's why they had the extra stop.
Well, they went on the hards again. Yeah. Had that not happened, had things just shook out a little bit better, I think he could have finished P4, which P19 to P4 is just wow. That's literally that's Lewis Brazil last year or year before, whatever that was. That's an amazing drive. Also, props to Alpine.
Yeah, I mean it did suck to see them kind of swap spots. It would have been nice for Pierre to be able to convert that P4 from qualifying into at least some points. Where did he finish finally? It was like
you looking for where Pierre finished?
Yeah, he finished
P11.
Yeah, back in 11. Yeah, so right outside the points. That's really sucks to not to be able to at least eke out 1 point from P4 qualifying, right? So,
but still so much better, like from a team perspective, than I think anybody ever would have anticipated.
For sure.
Flop for me, big flops to Alfa Romeo. Bad weekend.
Huge, yeah.
Bad weekend. Flops to Alpha Tauri. This might be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say little bit of a flop. He kind of floats in the middle. Good race overall, but I got to say, no, great race overall. Tiny bit of a flop to Sergio Perez for being overtaken on the last lap for the second week in a row when I think he should have had that corner covered off. He got caught sleeping. He should have gone defensive, should have gone tight, and that's uncharacteristic of Sergio Perez. So slight flop there, but biggest flop, absolute biggest flop of the weekend, Williams. What the fuck happened? How did you guys manage to blow the best start, the best 1-2 start you've had? And I don't mean 1-2 positionally, but both drivers. Starting 5th and 6th in a high-speed circuit where you guys are the fastest team. And you turn that into no points. You turn that into a 12th and a 16th. One of your drivers lost 7. One of your drivers lost 10 positions. Flop. My God. And then props to Vegas as a whole and props to F1 for pulling this thing off.
Hey, they did it, man.
Yeah.
It happened. Like we said on the preview, just for all this to happen within a year is kind of crazy, right?
Absolutely.
Like I figured that there would be some hiccups, and there definitely were, but
and then
I'm excited. So,
and I want to say flop to anybody who is still complaining about the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Shut up. You're an idiot.
I was going to say they'll probably go back to having no more traffic, right? There will not be any traffic until next year. So
yeah, the beautiful culture of hookers passing out flyers for sex work on the Vegas Strip will be back in full effect. The lovely, you guys got your fountain back. Yay, so that drunk fat white chicks can jump in it. My God, were they missing out for 2 whole weeks. Okay, let's do a fantasy recap, and then we'll put a ribbon on this thing. Brutal fantasy weekend for me. Logan Sargent fucked me. And then McLaren and Lando kind of fucked me. I could have gained so many goddamn points for how many overtakes Lando Norris should have had. But I lose out on points. Susie Wolf's account, she plays her cost cap. Oh, hello, Oliver. I know. I'm upset about it, too. You see how upsetting this is? Even the baby's mad. Now you've made the baby mad, McLaren, okay? But I lose out on points with Lando and McLaren, and then I lose out on points with just the absolute abysmal dud that Logan Sargent puts up. Susie Wolf's account, she plays her cost cap chip, which means she has 0 cost cap. She can play whoever she wants, and it works out well for her. I got snake bit when it happened to me. I didn't get my Lewis points. I didn't get my Chuck points because they got DNF'd. I actually lost points on them. So Susie Wolf's account takes a commanding 104-point lead going into the final race of the season over me. Not looking good. She's in first. I'm in second. Brandon, you are in third. Strolling with my homies is in fourth. Let's Go Full Throttle moves up to fifth. Church of Czech Hose drops down to sixth. J Money stays pat in seventh. And KJ bringing up the rear by nearly, almost 1.5 thousand points. He's a deadlock for last. That is the fantasy recap. Brandon, anything else?
No, I think we're good. Excited to get to the last race of the year.
The last one. Before we get there, Viva Las Vegas, baby. What a goddamn time. This has been the End of the Chicane Las Vegas Grand Prix review. If you guys haven't already, please follow us. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter. Goes a long way. We appreciate you guys. Give us a like. Share it if you enjoy this content. We can't wait to make more. We're heading into the final race of the season, round 22 of what some people called a boring season. I might disagree. Peace out, guys. We will see you next time.